Hashem, thanks to Vayichan, we're here again together today to try to rebuild the bricks that are in Shemayim waiting to come down to complete the structure that we have still, a chelik of the structure, the Kosel, the holiest place on earth. Thanks to Vayichan, Bez Hashem, today we're going to try to rebuild those bricks by learning Torah. That's the building blocks which create the full structure, Bez Hashem. But today, let's try and talk about the remnant, about the rest of those bricks, the holiest bricks on earth, the holiest place on earth. Let's try and get a little bit of a feel for the Kosel. What is the Kosel? Maybe a little bit about the Kedusha of the Kosel, maybe a little bit about the history of the Kosel, and maybe even some of the halachas of the Kosel, to get an appreciation and understanding of what exactly is the Kosel, the holiest place on earth. Just understand the Chayodam. There's a sefer called Shari Tzedek. In the sefer Shari Tzedek, that's a sefer which is written on the halachas of Eretz Yisroel. And the Shari Tzedek, the Chayodam generally wrote on Or Chaim, on Yeridea, on the basic halachas of every day, what you need to know for Shabbos and what you need to do for the weekdays, etc. And he wrote a sefer called Shari Tzedek. He writes in the beginning, why am I writing the sefer Shari Tzedek, which is the halachas of Eretz Yisrael? He said, because what kind of a terrible chutzpah would it be if a person would go into Eretz Yisrael and he wouldn't know how to act like a person that would come into the king's palace, and he doesn't know the rules of the king. He doesn't understand the royal protocols. He doesn't understand what it is you're supposed to be when you're inside the Beis of the Melech, the Beis of the king. So too, when a person will give you zeiches, soon says the Chayodam, to go back to Eretz Yisrael, and more so by the Kosel, and we have to know how to act, appreciation for the Kedusha, how much more so us, that we are Zoicha to be able in our times to go to the Kosel, how much we have to appreciate the Kosel and understand the Kedusha of the Kosel, and maybe even know some of the halachas of the Kosel. And the truth is that this place, it is somewhat of an understatement. Like the Chayadim himself writes, he says he'd be mischayev ben nafshay if he would come into the king's palace and not understand what it is to be in the king's palace. But how much of an understatement is it to say that this is the holiest place on earth? I mean, we know that in Shmos Rabbah, the Medrash says to us something unbelievable. It says that le'olam le'zaza Shechinah, this is the place that the Rebbeinu Shalom has never left. Has never left. And Ad Kedei Kach, the tshuva of the Binyan Tzion, he has a question. How can we say that we are hamachzir Shechinah? How can we say that we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be machzir Shechinah to Tzion? However, the Shechinah has never left. Hinehu oimid achar koslenu, like it says in the pasuk in shiurim, and the Medrash explains that this is the Kosel, that the Rebbeinu Shalom has never left behind the Kosel. There's a certain level of concentrated Shechinah that lives behind the Kosel. And Ad Kedei Kach, the Archlener, the Binyan Tzion, they ask, so how can we say in the davening, hamachzir Shechinah Tzion, as if to say that we don't have Shechinah? And he goes on to explain, okay, we have one level of Shechinah, but we don't have maybe we have a concentrated level of Shechinah, but you understand that this is real. The Shechinah has never left that makom. I once heard from one of the great Mekarvim, somebody was zeicha to be Mekarv hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of Jews. And he told me that people think, you go to the Kosel, and it was my finger that tapped them on the shoulder that was Mekarv them to Yiddishkeit. It was Mekarv them back to Judaism. He said, it wasn't my finger. He said they were standing on the other side of the Kosel. And on the other side is the Shechinah le'zaza me'olam misham. He says, it wasn't my finger. It was they came to the Kosel, they came to the holiest place on earth, and that Kedusha connected to their neshamas. And we have to remember this when we go to the Kosel. And we have to appreciate this. It's very interesting. Many people, they wonder, does the Kosel, does it have a din of a Beis Knesses? Does it have a din of a shul? There's dinim in a shul. Shuls have certain halachas. And look in the Shechinah and Siman Kuf and Aleph. That's why people walk behind, out of the Kosel, they walk back. So to in a shul, you're not supposed to just turn your back to the shul. You're supposed to walk out with your face facing the shul. So people wonder, does the Kosel, that area over there, we'll call it the plaza, that area over there have the din of a Beis Knesses? I tell them, unfortunately, it's clear that it has a din of a Beis Knesses. Go take a look. Everybody talks there. So Mamela, of course, you see that it has a din of a Beis Knesses. But that has to give us a feeling. There's no talking by the Kosel or Beis. This is the holiest place on earth. There has to be one place that a person goes. The truth is, in your shuls, you also shouldn't talk. But there has to be one place on earth that a person goes that he connects just to the Kedusha, the holiest place on earth. And I remember myself, the first time that I came to Eretz Yisrael. Nowadays, it's a different door. When I came to Eretz Yisrael, it was the first time I was 18-year-old bacher, and I came to Eretz Yisrael. And I think most people today, by the time they come to the yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, it's not the first time that they come to the Kosel and they come to Eretz Yisrael. By the time they're 18, they've been in Eretz Yisrael 18 times. Baruch Hashem. Hashem should help it weiter. But I was there. It was the first time I ever came to Eretz Yisrael. And I knew the first thing I'm doing, I'm going to the Kosel. I'm going to the Kosel. So I got into the cab. And I told the cab driver, my Hebrew wasn't so good in those days. So I told the cab, I told him, Vayomer Shraga, his name over there, you saw on the thing, it said Avram. Vayomer Shraga Avram, Lech Lechal Hara. Guy looked at me like, with the charanga falling from the plane. This guy fell out of an airplane. Right? I said, take me straight to the Kosel. Vayomer Shraga Avram, Lech Lechal Hara. Got to the Kosel. Now, boys, a simple from Flatfish, what do I know? I didn't know much. If I knew the Kosel, I know Beis, I know, face, you got to take off the shoes. That I knew, like Moshe Rabbeinu and the snap. I came to the Kosel, I took off my shoes, and they had over there these little cubby loch. I found out afterward that they weren't cubby. Really, those cubbies are there that they put the parsha sheets and everything. I think it's like in the bowling alley, lahavdil. They have those things over there for the shoes and So I took off my shoes and I put my shoes into the Kosel, into the cubby, and then I walked to the Kosel barefoot. And then the Yishalmi fellow came over to me and starts looking at me and looking at my feet, and I'm waving at it. And then I realized I was the only person that wasn't wearing shoes by the Kosel. But I want to tell you something about Beis. The hergeshim of being by the Kosel and that first time, and the barefoot, and realizing, you know what? Maybe I was right. And I heard afterward, I told the story over in a shiur once, and someone told me, you think that's something? So the Munkacher, the great Munkacher, he writes about himself. He says, I'm not as holy as my father. He says, my father made a shvuah that he'll never go to the Kosel. You know why he'll never go to the Kosel? He made a swear, he promised that he'll never go to the Kosel. You know why? Because he knew that if he go to the Kosel, he would never leave. Because that's the mokum that the Shechinah never left. And he wouldn't be able to pull himself away, and his Hasidim would need him. So he made a shvuah that he's never going to the Kosel. I'm not as big as my father. He writes over there. So what I did was how I went to the Kosel. And I had no breira, and I stayed there. And it was described the account of how he went to the Kosel the first time. And they describe over there, he took off his shoes. He walked to the Kosel, crawling and crying, and he stayed there for 24 straight hours, crying at the makom of the Shechinah leizaza misham me'olam. Chaim Shmulevitz, when he used to go to the Kosel, he used to say, Tata, Tata. He used to talk straight to the Shechinah, Tata, to turn our lane, you should do it yourself. This with a shliach, not with a shliach. He used to talk straight to the Rebbi Shalom. Because when you go to the Kosel, the holiest place on earth, there's a reason why that when we daven, our tefillas go, Derech Eretz Yisrael, Derech Yerushalayim, Derech the Kosel, v'zeh Shara Shamayim. All the tefillas of Klal Yisrael go Derech that makom, the makom where Loizaz Shechinah me'olam misham. Then we have to have an appreciation for the Kosel. We know that there's people, they put kvitluch into the Kosel. They put little letters into the Kosel. Where does it come from, Rabbi Isai? Klal Yisrael is not a new religion. It's not a new nation. It comes from somewhere. Someone told me that the Orach HaKodesh, it comes before the Orach HaKodesh. But just a little bit of a story, you understand the Orach HaKodesh. The Orach HaKodesh, somebody once came to the Orach used to come to him and tell him he has such difficulties and problems in Parnasa, difficult issues. So finally, after giving him many, many brachas, he finally said to him, here, he wrote on a piece of paper something, took it, folded it up, gave it to the person, told him, don't look at it, go straight to the Kosel, put it into the Kosel. The first makor that we know of a kvittel, of a little letter inside the Kosel. No, Bekitzer, the wind came and flew off the person's hat as he was going to the Kosel, and as he was reaching for his hat, the paper flew out of his hand. He came back to the Orach Chaim, crying to the Orach Chaim, what did I do? The paper, it's gone. The Orach Chaim said, I put all the Kedusha into that paper and I can't help you now. In walked the person and he said to him, I found this letter in the street and on the bottom it's signed Chaim Ben Atar. That was the Orach Chaim. And in the letter, they read the letter and the letter said, Achoisi, Vayoti, my sister, my beloved one, right? Such beautiful words. How the Orach Chaim shows us what is it when a person goes to the Kosel, and what is it when he's writing a letter and putting it into the Kosel, because it's the makom shaloi zaza Shechinah me'olam misham. We know there's different shitas in the world. We know that there's Satmar shita. They hold you and go to the Kosel. Someone once told to the Skalena Rebbe. He told him, Rebbe, the Satmar holds that you're not allowed to go to the Kosel. So you don't go to the Kosel because, it came in methodology. We got the rishus to go back to the Kosel in ways that the Satmar Rebbe is not happy. So the Sklan Rebbe was told that the Sklan, Matonish gains to them Kosel, you say in Yiddish. You shouldn't go to the Kosel. So Sklan Rebbe said, yeah, no, I also agree with that. I also agree. They couldn't believe it. They didn't know that was the sheet of the Sklan Rebbe. He said, no, I agree. Zichar Matonish gains to them Kosel. Avadi, you can't go to the Kosel. Must loif into them Kosel. You have to run to the Kosel. There's a different, our attitude has to be that if the Shechinah leizazim the oilam misham. So then, Derech Agav, on the night that they captured the Kosel, so the only people that were at the Kosel were Satmar Chassidim and the soldiers. Why? Because they knew Morgan the free, the Rebbe's will answer. And they knew first thing in the morning the Rebbe's going to answer. But Al Kapanim, the Shechinah that is behind the Kosel, that's a machlekes and shitas. But everyone agrees that it's the holiest place on earth. The Heilige Rambam, the Rambam writes, we know there's a very big machlekes all over Shas. We know this machlekes is Kitchel Shaitza, Kitchel Lasid Lavais, Eretz Yisrael Kodesh, or through from the original Kedusha, and it continues. Now, Gemina Trumes and Maestres, are they derisa today, or only Derabanan? Does the Kedusha remain, Lasid Lavai or not? Is it Kodesh today? Big machlekes, the Rambam's sheet is no, it's not. Kitchel Shaitza, it was only Kodesh then, and not Lasid Lavai. But, says the Rambam in Beis Abachira, that's all Legabe Eretz Yisrael, but not the Kosel. Not behind the Kosel, not HaRav. You're not allowed to go to HaRav. Why, says the Rambam? Because that's Kidsha La'asid Lavai. Why? Because the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael is dependent on Kibbush. It's dependent on, capturing. And capturing has to be with Beis Din, and it has to be with the certain rules. So therefore, it's only Kidsha at the time and not La'asid Lavai. But the Beis HaMikdash, the Makam of the Mikdash, is not dependent on Kibbush. It's not dependent on being captured. It's dependent on the Shechinah. And the Shechinah will never leave the Kosel. The Shechinah has always been by the Kosel and always will be. The Maral Diskin, when he came to live in Eretz Yisrael, and he came, so he had terrible, terrible Agmas Nefesh from living. They had to move because when he was by the Kosel, he would look out the window and he would see the Kosel, and he would have such Agmas Nefesh. And because of that, he suffered tremendously and he had to leave. The Chazon Ish went to the Kosel, I think they say one time, and the doctor paskined he could never go again to the Kosel because he went to the Kosel and he had a heart attack. Because he was so awestruck by the incredible amount of kedusha, the leizaza Shechinah me'oila misham. And we have to remember this when we have that schus to go to the Kosel and to appreciate the Kosel and to understand what it is that we're zeicha, something that our Zaydis weren't zeicha to do, to be able to go to the Kosel and to daven and to talk to our Father. In Pirkei Rebbe Lazar, listen to the beautiful words in the Pirkei Rebbe Lazar. He says, when you're davening by the Kosel, it's like the kisei hakovid v'zeh shar hashmayim. Imagine what it is to be davening by the kisei hakovid. The Ran in the Bikurim Yankiv. The Bikurim Yankiv brings the Ran. He's talking over there about the Shaila. Should I bring my lulav dafka to the Kosel? Because we know that when there was a Beis HaMikdash, you were supposed to have midaraisa, a kosher lulav and a kosher esrog, and I mean kosher on a deraisa level, all 7 days. Today we know that we only take lulav deraisa on day 1, and the rest of the days the lulav and the esrog is only the Rabbanan. But the Bikurim Yankiv, he says, but that's all in the rest of Eretz Yisrael, in the rest of the world. But by the Kosel, by the Makam of the Mikdash, he says there it's different. And he brings over there, because the Lashon is V'smachtem Lifnei Hashem. And Lifnei Hashem, the Makim that the Shechinah has never left. So the Shechinah never left. So he paskin still today, when you go to the Kosel on Sukkot, which is Zaycha B'Karev, when you go to the Kosel on Sukkot, with your lulav, with your esrog, has to have all of the durim, has to be as kosher as it was on day 1, because Smachtim Lifnei Hashem, and be in front of the Kosel, in front of that Makim, the Shechinah was like Zazam Me'oila Misham. In 1940, I was once eating at a meal. I was a Shiva Bacher, and I ate by a meal by Yerushalmi Mishpacha. And they had a very interesting thing. It was right by the Leichters, I remember, right by the candles. They had a little, some type of little mini vase or something. And it seemed to have a very, very integral part right there, right by the Leichters. It's covered up, like in Goyish families, it was probably Uncle Peter, right? But over here, I don't think it was holding the ashes. So I asked him, and then my Hebrew got a lot better, My Hebrew was, now I go into the store and I say, can I have some mitzpara? That's milk in English. Yeah? Or I told them the other day we had an issue with the air conditioning, and I told them, my mashiv haruach is being moirid geshem. But then I got better. Over there, I asked them, it wasn't going. But we somehow conversed, and I asked them, what is that vase? Right? Is that Aunt Estelle? What's in that vase? They told me, in that vase is tears from the Kosel. Shverin from the Kosel. I said, Shverin? I said, I heard of Aznayim la Kosel. The wall has ears. But The wall has eyes and they told me the wall has eyes and the wall has ears and the wall has tears and the wall has a lave. This Halakha wall, this wailing wall, this. What was the story? The story was in 1940 when it was actually maybe even later than 1940, maybe 1941 or 42 already. Rommel was sent by Hitler, and he was on the Sinai Peninsula on the border, and he sent the message back to Yimach Shemai that on Sunday he'll be drinking tea in Tel Aviv on Jewish blood. He was drinking tea on Tel Aviv on Jewish blood. He was coming into Eretz Yisrael to do what they did to the Jews in Eretz Yisrael, what they did to the Jews in Europe. And the oilim that was there, they went, I think it was on Friday night, and they went to the Kosel. And they went and they cried and they cried and cried and davened to the Rebbi Shalom at the Kosel. Until today, there were people that were made that they saw water coming out of the Kosel. Tears that came out of the Kosel. The people came, they filled up their jugs, and they kept it for posterity. And that Yerushalmi Jew, he has a little vase because the Kosel has ears and the Kosel has eyes and the Kosel has a lave and Leizaza Shechinah me'olam misham. There's an unbelievable medrash in Parshas told us. The medrash tells us that there was a Jew named Yossi Meshita. He wasn't such a tzaddik. Over there it says that the lashon of it says Yitzchak smelled the reyach bigodov, and it says over there in the medrash it wasn't bigodov, the reyach of the field. It was boidov. Even the traders of Klal Yisrael. Who are the traders of Klal Yisrael? So it says at the time when the Romans went into the Beis HaMikdash, so there was one Jew, this off the derech Jew, his name was Yossi Meshita, Joe. And this Yossi Meshita is off the derech character. So he was there with them, he was on their team. So they told him, Yossi, go inside there and take out whatever you want. Take out, go into the Kodesh, go into the Heichel and take out what you want. He came out and he took with him a menorah. Took the menorah. So the Roman soldiers, they told him, no, that doesn't pass. That's a little bit too extreme. You know, that's for royalty. You shouldn't have taken that. And he chapped himself. And they told him, so go back, take something else. He said, no, I won't go back. Oy li, that I was himrid as boyri. I one time was myrid on my boyri. I won't do it again. And the medrash goes on to say they gave him such a brutal death sentence as a result of this. And he just said, oy li, that I was himrid. And he did tshuva on the spot. The Panovich Rav asked the question, what exactly happened? 1 second ago, he was such a Russia that he went into the Beis HaMikdash and took out a menorah. Such a Russia, the boygid, a traitor. And this was the traitors that Yitzchak Avinu smelled. So what happened? Within 1 second that he changed, what happened? Panovich Rav said, that's a kasha. That's a kasha. He went into the Eichel. He went into the holiest place on earth. He felt the Shechinah. He felt the Ruach HaKodesh. Look in the Kli Yakar. And the Kli Yakar in Beis, in two places actually, in Beis, in Yud Gimel Yudayin, also in Dvarim, in Gimel Kaf Ches. He says the lashon over there that anyone that even looks at the Makim, where we're zeicha to see the Kosel, anyone that even looks at the Makim, he gets mislabish with Ruach HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh, everybody says, doesn't mean like he's going to have a crystal ball and be able to tell the future. It means he'll have a Ruach of Kedusha. He'll have a closeness to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Anybody that was zeicha to see the Kosel, he gets all of a sudden a Ruach of Kedusha. We have to appreciate the Kosel, Rabbi Isai. We have to appreciate what we have. And it's also a tremendous chizik for us in the moon of this Makim, because this is a place that a promise was made about this place that no person could make, Rabbi Isai. There's a medrash that says, the Rebbi Shalom tells Klal Yisrael, David HaMelech wanted to have a connection, like the Gemara in Zvachim tells us, to build the Beis HaMikdash, but he wasn't the one that would be zeicha to build the Beis HaMikdash. Only Shlomo. But he davened and he cried, and he said, Mizmor Shir Chanukas Abayis LeDavid. So what was he zeicha to do? He was zeicha to build the walls of HaRabayis. And the wall that you see today, Ayin in the Shuv Sigris Moshe, that's the wall of the HaRabayis. That's why you stand on that side and not on the other side, because the inside, that's already HaRabayis. But our side is the wall, that's the wall of the HaRabayis. And David HaMelech was given a promise, because it was built with such a hava and such rotzin, so then that wall will never be destroyed. And it says in the pasuk, Kavu Shareah, the pasuk in Eicha, that the wall sunk into the ground. I tell you, Rabbi Isai, for years and years and years, Jews lived with Emunah. There was a medrash that says in the Furish that the wall was there. There's a wall. We lived with Emunah, that the wall wasn't destroyed. You would come to Yerushalayim, you wouldn't see a wall. There was no wall. They lived with Emunah. I understand it. What do I understand? But if it says it in Chazal, so then I understand. Somehow, some way, I don't see it, but I have Emunah. And the Ramban in 1270, when he had to leave after the debates, and he came to Eretz Yisrael, the Ramban writes about his trip to Eretz Yisrael, talks about the shul, about the churv over there, and he doesn't talk about the Kosel, because he didn't see the Kosel. Where was the Kosel? So the Medrash says, Tlavu Sharel. The wall the Rebbi Shalom made a promise on that wall. This is a great chizik in our Emunah. He made a promise that wall will never be destroyed. Can anybody make such a promise? in a world that we live in with wars and everything, that wall will never be destroyed. Tavu sharel. It'll sink into the ground. And for years, we had Amunah. What was the story? The Medrash tells us that 4 generals were sent to Eretz Yisrael to destroy the Beis HaMikdash, and 3 of them were successful to destroy this wall, that wall, that wall. No, there was one wall, I think the Duke's name was Pingo or something like that. And he was told that he had to destroy the western wall, the Wailing Wall, the Kosel, the holiest place on earth. And he tried to destroy it, no avail. So he came back and he told the king, he said, no, you don't understand. No, it's kedai to leave that wall. Why? He says, binyan, such an unbelievable structure. So if people are going to say, look, he destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, big deal. They won't know what the Beis HaMikdash was. They'll think it's a motorhome. But if we leave around one wall and they see, hoo-ah, look at that, it'll be a gili and the testimony on the entire thing. So the king said, you're saying good, right? I'm going to kill you because you didn't listen, and they killed him, right? But they decided to leave it around. And this is the start of the illustrious history of the remnant of the Kosel never being destroyed. But the Medrash tells us it sank into the ground. What does it mean it sank into the ground? So the Maram Chagiz, he lived 300 years ago, 350 years ago, and he writes about what's the pshat, what's the story with the Kosel. And he tells us the most unbelievable thing. He tells us that when Sultan Suleiman, you can see in Yerushalayim today, there's still a street called after him. And when he came to Eretz Yisrael, he sees one day, it's an Arab woman, and there she is, and she's walking with 2 garbage bags there. And she's walking, from a long time. So Suleiman sees her, and he says to her, no, Fatima, Avu Geista, where are you going? What's this all about? So she says, no, right now I'm busy. Don't talk to me now. No. Where you go? And he follows her, and he sees Fatima, and there she is with her sister Faiza and the whole chevron. And where they go? And she's going to some huge garbage dump. And they, what is this? No, we have a thing. This is where we have a Kabbalah, that this is where the Jew's house was. And we throw our garbage on it. And he sees people, all these Arabs throwing their garbage on it. So what do? He wanted to see what's going on under there. So he sprinkled a couple of coins. On top of the garbage can over there, right? No, he told the couple, Yasir, Saddam, no. Look over there. There's some coins over there. So they started to undo the garbage. Maybe it's more coins, right? And they got the coins. Then he killed them, sprinkled their coins back on there, and then more and more. And slowly, over the course of more than a year, they undid all of the garbage. They had to bury a lot of their chaver too, but they undid all that garbage and was revealed the Kosel. The Rebbi Shalom protected the Kosel, made it into a garbage dump. May ashpais yarim evyoin. From the garbage, Yarim Evir, came out, and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a nace all the years. And now you can go till today, as you all know, and you can see 19 layers all the way down, because the Rebbeinu Shalom Taka sunk it into the ground to protect the Kosel, the holiest place on earth. The Rebbeinu Shalom promise is only he could make. This is a great chizik and emunah when we see the Kosel. Just to conclude a little bit over here, with some of just the inyanim over here of the Kosel. So we know that a person that's zeicha to come to Eretz Yisrael, he has to taka, when he sees the Kosel, he has to rois kriya. What's he roising kriya on? He's roising kriya on that awesome tuma on top over there. He's roising kriya. He's roising kriya on the awesome Chilul Hashem. And he has to rip kriya. Yes, how does he do it? He should actually make a decision, because if he's going to have a jacket on, so then he's going to have to rip his jacket. So what does he do? What I tell Bachrim to do is take off your jacket. And most people don't want to rip their jacket, and wear the shirt. And then afterwards, you'll put your jacket back on. And then when you keep your head down, and you go to the Kosel, and then you look and you see it, or if he's coming down from the stairs, once you see that area, you see the mask, you can rip a lot of kriya on that mask, Rabbi say. And you rip on the left side, you take a little rip over here, and then you rip it down past the heart, like for a parent. Agav, a person is allowed to keep that shirt, and then afterward, you can rip it again. If he comes back, if he hasn't been there in 30 days. Some people have the minig that if they're in Yerushalayim, they don't rip. Derech Agav, Shlomo Zalman said, if they live in Yerushalayim, why don't they rip? One time there was a Jew that said to me, I'm a Yushalmi, we don't rip. I said, no, you got it wrong. This is a Yushalmi that lives now in America. I told him, it's not a thing that Yushalmis don't rip. He said, if you live in Yerushalayim and you're always there with the Chorban, you always feel the Chorban. But Shlomo Zalman Auerbach said a different shot. He said, no, it's like an Alta Mama in Shtib. What does it mean? Alta Mama in the house. You have an old mother in the house. What does it mean? Shlomo Zalman said, somebody has an old mother, she lives in Mamish in the neighborhood over there, and he doesn't visit her once in 30 days, it shows he doesn't care. So what's he going to rip kriya about? But Mashen Kain, a person, says Rav Shlomo Zalman, that he feels the pain of how he's going to try to visit the Kosel once in 30 days. And if he doesn't visit the Kosel once in 30 days, he says, so then obviously it doesn't pain him so much, and that's why he doesn't rip kriya. But somebody that hasn't been there in 30 days, he rips kriya. Derech Agav, right afterward, you could change your shirt, or you could put a jacket over it if you want. But upon him, there's a chiyuv to rice kriya. Okay, if he went on Shabbos, so then he doesn't have to rip kriya. But a chalila that a person should come on Sunday and say, you know what, I'll wait till Shabbos to go to the Kosel so that I could save a couple of prutas on my shirt. You must life into the Kosel. You have that attitude. You have to run to the Kosel, the holiest place on earth. And there are other halachas. Are you allowed to kiss the Kosel? Are you allowed to touch the Kosel? This is a world war. Some held that maybe you're getting too close to HaRav. But what should I tell you, Rabbi Sai? I saw great people. I saw Rav Chaim Kanievsky, and I saw him touching the Kosel, and I saw him leaning against the Kosel and kissing the Kosel. Derech Agav, it's something to think about. I don't know if you should actually lean on the Kosel because maybe you're being mishtamish with kedusha. Maybe it's a moil be'ektish. When I said I saw Rav Chaim Kanievsky lean, I don't mean that I saw him leaning with his full weight. Never know. That's interesting because people do lean. It's something to think about. Another thing that you could think about is, are you allowed to take a picture by the Kosel? The backdrop of the Kosel, the background of the Kosel, maybe that's enough from a davar shel kedusha. Maybe it's me'ila. So you're going to say, no, but kol v'reach is ain't by mishum me'ila. Yeah, me'ila not. But the Ran says maybe there's an isser. So maybe you can't use the Kosel as your background. It's an interesting thought, something to think about. The guy kissing the Kosel, you can kiss the Kosel. There's a shaila about putting your finger into the lach and the little holes over there in the Kosel. There's a little bit of a shaila about that, because then maybe that's called a bia b'mixas. The Aderes, I think he was the shver of Rav Kook. He also had a lot of agmas nefesh when he saw the Kosel. He came to Yerushalayim. Rav Shmuel Salant brought him when he was 60 years old to be the Rav of Yerushalayim. And he was an old man, Rav Shmuel Salant. And he brought him in that he'll be the Rav. And that he'll, after he dies. In the end, he died and he was 61 years old. I think he died of agmas nefesh because of the Kosel. And then Rav Shmuel Salant stayed the Rav until he was something in the 90s. The Aderes, he says, don't put your finger into the Kosel. Others are mekel, as long as you're not on the other side. But not chalila to speak the rechulin and to eat and to drink. Listen to the words of Rav Avadja in the Chazayna Avadja when he talks about people that eat and drink and shmooze by the Kosel. Ha-mekel roishai b'sicha b'teila to shmooze by the Kosel or b'achila v'shtiya v'ishan avoidai gadol minasai. Like what it says about Kayin. Mamish, it's something that's too great. It's too difficult to be seivel such an einish. And therefore, chalila, one should never be schmoozing by the Kosel. The holiest place on earth, Rabbi Yisai. Bez Hashem, what we're doing over here today, with the help, Baruch Hashem, of Vayichan, such a wonderful Kiddush Hashem, is we're building all of those other bricks so that soon the Kosel can finally be enclosed. And finally, we could be Zeicha Taka, to be Zeicha, that awesome Shechinah, that not only, that the Shechinah never left, but that will be Zeicha to that intense, concentrated amount of Shechinah with the building of the Beis HaMikdash, b'mheira, b'yameinu, amen. Amen.